Yeah, my name is Darnell Aponte, of course. I'm in the South Florida region. I'm in the Plantation Market Center. I've been in real estate for 6 years full time. Um, I'm a state director for the Florida Association of Realtors. I'm a governor for the Miami Association of Realtors. Top 20 under 40 in South Florida, 40 under 40 with cystic fibrosis. I love real estate. I love everything to do with real estate. It's almost a hobby, but my real hobbies are cooking and just being on the water, anywhere on or near the water. And I love sharing my knowledge as well.
I didn't realize honestly how much you had there. That's amazing. Good job. We appreciate having somebody of your stature on the call so that we can pick your brain on open houses. So that's what you're going to be speaking on today. So you want to tell a little bit about what your goals of today are?
Yeah, my goal of today is to kind of make open houses fun and make you excited to want to do open houses because you're going to realize that every open house you do, you're going to be able to take away at least one piece of business and add a few people to our database, right? So that's
All
my
right.
ultimate goal and teach you
Awesome.
how to actually generate an appointment on the spot. That's something that I'm really great at doing is generating appointments at open houses.
And what you do really well is attract people to your open house, right?
Yes, I like to attract a lot of people to the open house, but what I find most important is not the quantity of people, it's the quality of the conversations that I have for the attendees at the open house. My goal is literally to have two people at the open house, and I'll get more to that data in a moment. I'll tell you why my goal is only two people. If it's more than two people, even better. But if there's two people that show up, I'm ecstatic.
All right. Well, you want to jump into it?
Yeah, definitely. I just need you
All right.
to
I'll get out of the way and I'll.
Awesome. So I'm going to share some open house tactics with you today. A lot of these I learned from my great friend, many of you guys may know, Tara Carter. So our content outline today is going to be a pre-open house checklist, things we do 5 days before, 3 days before, day of, follow up, and then of course, showtime. If you have any questions while we're going, feel free to drop it in the chat or the comments, and Ryan will share them as well. I've already given you a little bit about myself. I'll skip this, but I've also done bold 8 times. I love bold. Can never take it too much. Um, what is a lever? So a lever is something that I like to apply to every aspect of my business. So a lever is something that is automatic, systematic, predictive, and replicable, leverageable, and expandable. So anything that we have to do more than once in our business, we should have a lever or a system for that. So a lever, same thing, the system. So that's what I do with my open houses. So over the years, I created a system for my open houses. And usually, when I teach this class in person, I have someone share the slide that I got from Mega Camp, I believe, 3 years ago. And it's from Gary Keller. And it says, your database is your business. Building up the number of names in it and the relationship with those names is really at the core of what building a real estate business is all about. The size of your real estate business will be in direct proportion to the size and quality of your database. And that's really important that we actually use our database and update our contacts to command and set them up on smart plans and follow up plans with them as well. This is probably one of my favorite slides. I love data. I love analytics. I'm like a numbers nerd. I track everything in my business as well. And this is something I also saw at the same event. I believe it was Mega Camp 3 years ago. Is 2 out of 3 sellers and buyers hire the first agent they meet. 8 out of 10 open house guests are unrepresented, so that means over 50%, 53%, if we want to be precise, of all open house guests will hire the first person they meet and they're unrepresented. So my goal is just to get in front of them first. That's really my ultimate goal at the end of the day. I want to be the first person that any client interacts with because I know that I have a 66% chance that they're going to hire me. And oftentimes, when we're hosting an open house, we like to ask the visitors like immediately, hey, do you have an agent? Are you working with an agent? And it seems like everyone has an agent, right? But that's because they don't want to feel like they're being sold to or bothered. It's kind of like when we're in, the mall or in a department store and we're walking along and one of the sales reps ask, "Hey, do you need help with anything? Is there anything I can help you find?" And like immediately we're like, "No, no, no, thank you." Um, we could literally need help. We could be completely lost, but most of the time our instinct is just to say no because we don't want to feel like we're being sold to. And that's exactly what happens when these potential buyers or sellers are walking through an open house. So I generally don't ask that question. And if I do, I ask it a different way later on after I build a rapport with them and I show what my value is to them. One of my favorite books is, if you guys haven't read it, definitely read it. It's called Ninja Selling. And I took a photo of the page that meant the most to me was the conversion ratios. If you look at all the conversion ratios, I mean, it goes all the way down from cold direct mail with the only 1 in 2,000 conversion to referrals, which is 2 out of 3 conversion. So referrals obviously are going to give you the best conversion. You're already vetted, past sellers, past buyers, walk-ins. But what we can control the most out of these, it's going to be open houses. So open houses, you have a 1 to 15 conversion ratio. So if 15 people walk into your open house, you should be able to convert at least one of them. And I believe the conversion is much higher than 1 to 15. Like I said, if 2 people walk into my open house, I consider it a good open house because I know that there's a really high chance that I'm going to be working with one of those people at the end of the day. So there's lots of ways to do our business. I choose open houses. Some people door knock. Door knock is on here as well. It's 1 out of 100. Cold calling, 1 out of 500, and online lead gen. So for every open house that I do, I always do a marketing strategy, believe it or not. So I decide who I'm targeting. So you're going to do a little bit different marketing for a $1 million estate versus the, a a condo, 2 bedroom condo. And yes, sometimes they do open houses at condos as well. So the marketing and the buyer is completely different. So you need to know who you need to target. When should you do the open house? Times and how long? Weekdays versus weekends. What are you doing to make it successful? Where do you advertise? Why and how? And I'll break that down a little more in a bit. And my favorite is weekday open houses. You get a completely different type of buyer, I believe, during the week, especially like on a Monday or Tuesday. Like today, Sasha and I are doing an open house in the afternoon for our new listing. What I've noticed when you do an early week open house is you're getting a lot of people that work in retail, for example, or in the hospitality industry because they're working on weekends typically when we usually host our open houses. So I get a lot of restaurant people, a lot of bar managers, a lot of law enforcement, a lot of medical people as well that usually can't make it on the weekend, and a lot of salespeople as well. Because if you're working in retail, you're working on the weekends. So Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays are great days for me to attract that type of clientele to my open house. So something I do is make sure I send it out to my sphere of influence, sellers, of course, any of our previous buyers that we have in command, nosy neighbors, looky loos, and I post it on social media contact. So I confirm all the information with our sellers, the most popular questions, right? How old is the roof? How old is the AC? How old is the water heater? And any other information that you believe is pertinent. Contact the lender if you want to have someone sit at your open house. I never sit open houses alone. I always have someone there, whether it's an agent or lender partner or insurance or moving company. There's so many people that would be happy to host an open house with you and help you out as well. I mean, it's just a safe and smart thing to do. Check the neighborhood for other open houses for cross marketing opportunities. So When I host an open house, I put it in the MLS, of course, and then I search the MLS to see what other open houses are happening in the neighborhood. And I reach out to the agents to see if they're willing to cross promote. You have some of your flyers at mine, and I have some of my flyers at your open house. Because if we know our open house statistics, we know that we have a 1% chance of actually selling the house that we're hosting an open house in. And we have a 12% chance of literally selling the other house. So we have a better chance of selling the other person's house than our own house that we're hosting an open house at. So it's always great to collaborate. No competition, only collaboration. That's something I live by. Make sure you add it to the MLS as well. That's the most important because it's going to syndicate to the hundreds of sites. I create a Facebook event and I create a design photo for the event. And you can just use command designs or you can use Canva. And you just make a template. Again, think of everything as a lever. So you just make a template. So all you need to do is change the address and time and the photo, and you have everything else there. And I post it on social media, even LinkedIn, and I ask friends to share, and the seller is always happy to share. And it's great that you are friends with the seller on Facebook as well, because then you get into their circle also, their sphere of
Hey,
influence.
Darnell, we have a
Uh-huh.
question in the chat here that we have up on the screen for you. They're asking what time your open houses are during the week.
I've done them at every time you can imagine, but I typically do. I like to do the 4 to 6 time, or 4 to 7, or even 5 to 7, and I feel like I'm getting people after they pick up their children, or after they're running errands, after they pick up their children, or on their way home from work. Not everyone's flexible, and they can just leave work in the middle of the day to go do a midweek open house. So I really like the 4 to 6 o'clock time. But again, it just comes down to knowing your demographic, who you're targeting, and the area you're at. I've done open houses at as early as 8 in the morning. I've done open houses at 12 to 3 p.m. when they're nearby a school, like really close by a school, because then I get the parents after they're dropping off their children, or before they pick them up, or right after they pick them up from school as well. So I just look at an open house as an office for a couple of hours where I have the opportunity, the bonus to meet people while I'm there. So hopefully that answers your question. Great. So pre-open house, I circle prospect. Someone in your office is going to have the ability to get the data for you if you don't have any of those dialers or Core Realty resource. So just your office may have it, or an agent in the office may have it. So ask them to get the list for you so you can manually dial. Ask the sellers to invite their friends and family and neighbors on social media. Door knock if that's your thing. I don't love door knocking. And when I do door knock, I usually only do the 555 rule. Confirm sign up for an agent partner, organize and set up your sign inventory, and check your open house bag inventory. These are things that I usually keep in my car anyways. I have like a big bag of stuff in the car, and most of the stuff you can find at the dollar store: hand soap, hand sanitizer, air freshener. No one likes a house that has some foul smells. And I see your question, Scott and Jonathan. I'll get there in just a minute. I always have a Bluetooth speaker in my car. Breath mints or gum, water, knife or scissors, paper towels. Really important, charger for your laptop or tablet. I always bring a laptop to open houses because, again, I'm doing my regular work while I'm there. And, I can do a mini buyer consult with the buyers, and tape, measuring tape, or I have an electric measuring tape because buyers always want to try to measure the rooms to see if their stuff is going to fit. And hey, you have your measuring tape. They don't have to use their feet to kind of figure out how big the room is, and toilet paper. 3 days in advance of the open house, I post it again everywhere. I call the neighbors we can reach if we're circle prospecting. I usually 5 to 7 days in advance, I'll promote an ad in commands. I literally spend like 15 or 20 bucks just to get some additional exposure, and you do get a couple leads from that as well. Really important, check the city laws on signs. Every city is a little different. And also, if it's in an association, make sure you check the rules on signs, because you don't want to come out and find all your signs gone that you paid your good money for, or actually get a fine for it. So, like, for example, there's some cities where I'm at where they only allow you to have 6 total signs, including the signs in front of the yard. And each sign, if it's not like a custom sign with your name on it, needs to have your business card stapled to it. Otherwise, they'll take them and you're going to miss some of your guests as well. Organize your signs if they don't have a limit. I usually do at least 20 to 30 signs because I like to put them out and give people the opportunity to turn. People drive really fast. So if you just put the sign at the middle of the intersection, um, if they drive by and they're going too fast, usually they're not going to turn around. So I literally will put like 3, 4 signs at each intersection spaced out so they can see it and have a chance to merge into the correct lane so they can come to the open house. Map out the placement of the signs if you go to the property before, or just use Google Maps and see where you want to place the signs. Have a plan for that and create an open house. If you can use paper. I'm against paper, honestly. I used to use the Open Home Pro app, and I've even used KW Command. I've made a single page website with their so they can enter their contact information. But now I use a QR code, and I use also like a Jot form or Google form. To answer your question, Scott, how do we sell, where to go? How do we sell the other open house that we have a 12% chance of selling when we cross promote? So hopefully it's at a slightly different time and you let them know that you can meet them there. But hey, they might have an agent or you might have a simultaneous open house. So sometimes you just send them over. You just want traffic at the end of the day. But something I also do is I set up a showing at each open house nearby a similar house. If I find a house that's vacant, if I have an open house from 12 to 2, I'll set up a 2:30 showing there. And I ask buyers, once I'm building a rapport with them, if this house works or did they know if this one was available. I actually have an appointment there at 2:30. After this, if you'd like to meet me there, I can show you that as well. So I usually always have one open house set up. Jonathan, what is the 555 rule? So the 5 houses to the front of the house you're hosting, the 5 houses to the left, and the 5 houses to the right. So I normally knock on the doors of the closest neighbors. Are there any other questions right now? John Augustin, how would you recommend an agent who doesn't have many listings to go about hosting their own open houses? That is super simple, and that's how I started my career. Is I would look at an MLS and look for newer properties that are on the market, and I would look at mostly properties that were vacant, and I would call the listing agent, I would text them, and I would email them, and I let them know, hey, I'm an agent. You don't need to say you're a new agent. It doesn't really matter if you are or not. Say you're an agent. You see you have this property here. I'd like to host an open house for you, and some things that I'm going to do are help give you your time back, so you don't have to host it yourself. So you look like a rock star to the seller because you're hosting an open house and you're getting activity on their home. And I'm going to share all the feedback that I receive from the guest with you so you can share it with the seller as well. And it's also a little more secure because a lot of agents use just a combo lockbox and they can just hold off the showings and allow the house to be shown at the open house. So I find it's a win-win. They can do what they want to do, spend time with the family, lead gen, show their own clients' homes, but I let them know I'll host the open house for them and just provide feedback so they can provide it to the seller. Some are going to say yeah, some are going to say no, but you're going to need 1 or 2 a week. So that's fine. I complete an open house booklet. I usually have it digital, by the way. I have it on a PDF on my cell phone here. And that way it's like a cheat sheet that I can go take a look at. So I have the property appraiser tax info, so I know what the taxes are and some more specs of the home. The MLS full view, the MLS detail view, and any other cheat sheets, like what some comps are for other homes that sold in the neighborhood. And like I mentioned a while ago, showing instructions for at least 1 or 2 other homes in the area so you can offer to show after the open house. I'm all about providing value and building relationships so I can add them to my database and do business with them. Things that I do 1 day in advance. Guess what? We're going to post it again everywhere. We're going to reconfirm our sign help or an agent. Make sure your iPad or tablet is charged. Again, the 555 rule. And pick up refreshments. I literally only do bottled water. If it's like a luxury or semi-luxury listing, I might do some sparkling water. I might do some Perrier or Pellegrino bottles, but that's it. No snacks. I don't do that. It's just becomes a nightmare for me personally, and you have to worry about a mess or children putting their Cheeto or chocolate chip cookie fingers on the wall. So stay away from snacks personally. Showtime is my favorite time. We post again. Check the MLS and make sure you have it on there. I literally arrive an hour before the open house because I want to go ahead and make sure the house is prepared. The blinds are open, the lights are on, the AC is on, cooler than it normally might be because the doors are going to be opening and closing. I place a sign in the yard with the open house time in case some guests come by while you're out putting out signs. And I put a sign on the door as well. That's why I have tape and it says, hey, open house from this time to this time. Please wait or please come back. If they're coming while I'm putting out signs. Hopefully the seller has some TV so you can play some music on. If not, you use your Bluetooth speaker, you get that set up. Set up your iPad or sign-in sheet or your QR code so they're going to scan. And I always have my KW app download link in my phone as well, so I can share it by text and place the signs out. And then now you come back and cool off. You're not stressed. You're not running around, and you can gather yourself and focus for the open house. If you want to see my open house sign-in form, feel free to scan this QR code. It'll take you to my jot form. Um, Feel free to click and go all the way through. Just don't submit at the end because otherwise you're going to be a lead in my database. Open house, first impressions. So I always say thank you for stopping by. Do you live in the neighborhood or are you out house hunting or shopping today? And the reason I say that is because I want to establish, are you a neighbor? And if you're a neighbor, that means you're possibly thinking of selling your home and you just want to see what this home could go for, or if you're out house hunting or shopping, then I get to see, if they're a buyer or seller and how serious they are. If they're like, hey, I saw the sign I'm coming in, then maybe they're not as serious as someone that found the home on Zillow or the MLS and they're coming because they've already seen the home online. It's really just to qualify and filter them out. Regardless of what their answer is, I always say, okay, great. The owners of this home do require everyone to sign in before previewing it. Then I point them to the QR code or the sign-in sheet, whatever you use. Or sometimes I even ask them for their phone number so I can text them the link, and then I make sure I get their correct contact information. So I don't like to ask them if they can sign in because if you make it a yes or no question and they say no, I don't want to sign in, it can get a little bit awkward. So I always put it on the seller. The owners require that everyone sign in. They want to know everyone that's coming into their home. Once they sign in, I give them facts about the home. I let them know, hey, please feel free to take a look around, open any door, any cabinet you like. Just make yourself at home. And if you have any questions, just let me know. So I always stay close enough to hear their feedback, especially like if it's a family or a couple, but I'm not following them around. You are not a puppy dog. And I just observe and I ask questions and I have a list of questions that Ryan has. I think he'll upload them with the slides as well. And I have 2 pages of questions that I ask them. And while they're looking around the house, since I do a digital sign-in sheet, I I'll go back to the code. Here it is. Since I have a digital sign-in sheet, it emails me immediately as soon as they submit the information, so I know if they submitted it. And then I go in and peek at it, and I get a little bit of information on them as well. My favorite form question is, "Are you working with a realtor?" And I go a little bit deeper than yes or no. So my options are yes, and I'm committed. Yes, but I'm not committed. No, I'm looking on my own, and no, but I'd like to be. If they say yes and I'm committed, we don't try to step on anyone's toes. We don't try to take anyone else's business. But oftentimes people will say yes because they put in a request on Zillow or Redfin, or their friend's sister's coworker is also a realtor, and they think they might be using them, but they haven't had a conversation. No, but I'm looking on my own, and no, but I'd like to. And then I know exactly where they're at, and I know how to ask them questions at that point also. Showtime, again, ask powerful questions, go 3 deep, always come from curiosity and to create value and be helpful. So some of my favorite questions are, would it be of value to you if I emailed you some other potential options? Would it be of value to you if I asked you to meet so we can go over the home buying process? Um, those are some of the questions I asked. Would you be offended if I asked to set up a time, to meet with you to show you what it is to work with a professional agent that offers a consultative approach to home buying? Um, these are some of the questions. Again, I have 2 full pages. I'll get those to you. This is normally a 45-minute, an hour class, so I condensed it. So I apologize. I know we're running out of time. Could you see yourself living here? And I literally do like a mini buyer consult with them before they even realize it. So, for example, if it's a 4-bedroom house, I'll ask them, "Hey, do you need a 4-bedroom or could a 3-bedroom work?" And as they answer, I have my computer open. I'm like, "Okay, 3 bedrooms plus. Are you only looking in this area? Do you need a pool, garage?" And literally 5 or 6 questions, and I'm like, "Okay, hey, did you know that there are 40 homes that meet your requirements? Would it be of value to you if I emailed this list over to you?" And everyone says yes. And then now you get their contact information again to make sure you got it correctly. Sometimes, our visitors will put in 1 digit off in their phone number or their email. And this is another opportunity to get the correct information because now we're showing we have value to present and they are more inclined to give us the correct contact information at that point. And then I set them up on an auto email in MLS or in Command. Everyone keeps asking if we're going to share the presentation. Absolutely, it'll be shared. Ryan mentioned it as well, but you'll have all the slides.
You can see it at the bottom of the screen. It's stating that all recordings and slides will be on the website at the end of the week.
Yes, I see lots of questions. The same question. I just wanted to address it. The 500 script I use all the time on signed phone calls or leads that come in or open house. And this is one of my favorite short scripts also. I prefer to ask you 500 questions and show you 5 homes than to ask you 5 questions like most agents and take you running around to show you 500 homes that don't meet your need. So, I'd love to learn a little bit more about your needs and desires when it comes to finding a home. Would you be offended if I asked to meet over Zoom to discuss and search for homes together? Like those are two of my favorite ways to frame questions. Would you be offended if? Would it be of value to you if? And then I go in to set the appointment. Are weekends or weekdays better for you? Do you have a half an hour later this afternoon to go over the home buying process? Like my goal is always to set an appointment or two right there on the spot. Well, I need to speak to my partner. I'll get back to you. No, I completely understand that. Let's put it in the calendar now. Speak to your partner, and if that time is not available for you both, then we'll reschedule. And then, but at least we have it in the calendar now. Fair enough, and people usually don't object to that at that point. Follow up. This is where most of the sales happen. So your open house is over. You add everyone to command. You send them a handwritten note if you have their address or if they're a neighbor. You call them to get feedback for the seller. Really, you're calling to just have another conversation with them and hopefully get them to be a client of yours. I ask if they're paying cash or if they're pre-qualified. And that way I can connect them to a lender so they can get qualified. And then again, I'm always pushing for the appointment to meet. And then depending on the type of lead they are, I'm going to assign them to a smart plan also. And that is basically it. The Ponte group is expanding right now. We're hiring. So if anyone's looking to join the team also, feel free to scan and fill out our questionnaire. And if you have any questions or need anything from me, feel free to reach out to me as well. Text messages are always the best.
Great job, Darnell. I appreciate you coming on today. And we are in the last portion of it. So please make sure you guys grab this screen and follow him and send any referrals you need to down his way. I'm sure he'd appreciate it. He put a lot of time into this presentation. I know he's presented it many times, and we've been blessed to have him come on and share it with the rest of the region today. What we're going to do next, though, is I want you to see at the bottom of this screen, we've been scrolling this video and the slideshow he just put together is going to be put onto our website, which is at kwsouthfloridaregion.com/video. So if you want that, that's there. But now what we're going to do during this. Yes, sir.
Can you also add the other PDF that I sent you, the Ask Powerful Questions, as the 2 pages of the questions
Yes,
I asked?
both of them will be on there.
Thank you.
Definitely. Everything will be there for you.
We had a question from Steve Berezin. He says, do you prefer open houses solo or with someone? I never do an open house solo for safety reasons. And there's always someone that wants to host it with you as well. Like I said, a lender partner. I prefer to use a lender partner or a title company, insurance agent, a moving company, because then you have a different goal, right? When you do it with another agent, you have to determine always up front, how are you going to distribute the leads? Is it, one lead for you, one lead for me? Are we going to work everything together? How are we going to do this? But never do an open house alone. It doesn't make sense for safety reasons.
Great. So Darnell, what we're going to do next is everything that you've learned here, some of the stuff you've done. I want you to sit down. If you're in a classroom right now with your Market Center Tech trainers, which is what we designed this to do, was have you guys go to the Market Center, meet with your Market Center Tech trainers, and let them help you put some of these systems in place. He showed you some things. We've got some QR codes up here that he showed you about the app. Go play with some of these systems. You can use what he used, which is Jot Forms. I use that as well for my business. Google Forms is just as good. Jot Forms, it does have a price tag on it if you're going to go over so many. So I think it's worth it, but Google Forms works just as well. There's many other forms out there that you can use, but I would maybe meet with your Market Center Tech trainer and kind of talk to them about how it is you can set up some of these systems in Command and use what Darnell taught you today for your business. We will have another session that will go deeper into creating the forms and creating QR codes. So stay tuned for that part.
Sweet. Well, thank you everyone for your time today. Thank you for joining me. And again, if you have any questions, you want to reach out to me, I'm happy to help anyone. You can text me or send me an email, and I'll be there for you guys. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Darnell.
You're welcome.